Yes, this is a tragic family case. The father who shot and killed his son, allegedly by mistake, will appear in the Lenasia Magistrate's court today.
Sibusiso Tshabalala says he thought he was being hijacked when he fired at his son.
The 51-year-old Ennerdale father is facing a charge of murder, and our colleague Malungelo Booi has been covering this story for us, and he's joining us now in the studio. Good morning, Malungelo. I mean, just talking about this story, just reading that, my heartstrings just go out to that family. Just remind our viewers again. I mean, how did we get here?
So, Braden and Yuvi, it was on the 6th of June this last month when this father had waited for his son at Fred Norman Secondary School. His son Luyanda was attending extra classes that evening. The father fell asleep in the car, and the young boy came back, and to wake him up, he started to shake the car and knocked. The father didn't wake up, and when he eventually woke up, the 51-year-old, he just pulled out his firearm and he shot his son. And we know that he said he has told the court that this was a mistake. He shot his son by mistake. In fact, when he appeared last month in the Lenasia Magistrate's Court, an affidavit was read out where he actually said that this was a mistake. He thought he was being hijacked. And we know that he also rushed his son to hospital. That's where 16-year-old Luyanda eventually succumbed.
And then handed himself over to the police.
He handed himself over to the police.
We understand, Malu, yesterday that there were some family problems happening at the moment, but do we know if there were any issues between father and son?
Well, what we know is that the mother and father were not living together. But what we know is that the two had a loving relationship. That's what the family had said to me when I had interacted with them, and that this was a big tragedy. In fact, even when he appeared in court last month, he also said that this was something that will haunt him for the rest of his life. In fact, the magistrate in Lenasia, Maggie van der Merwe, described the incident as also a tragedy.
Yeah, and I mean, you think about it, he took the son to school for extramural activity that night. You'd assume that they had a good relationship. And we understand Luyanda had big dreams.
That's right. I mean, his colleagues at the time were raving about him. He was actually quite popular at school. He was the deputy chairperson for the LRC, and he also wanted to be a chartered accountant. I mean, when I went to his home, and you could see there were certificates and trophies, it just shows that this young boy was one of the top students.
He was an achiever of note. Okay, now today, Mr. Tshabalala back in court. This will be the second time up in court.
That's right.
What do we expect? Well,
we're likely to hear whether the NPA will proceed to prosecute him for this or not. So that's one of the things we'll hear, whether the NPA decides to go ahead. Remember, the National Director of Public Prosecution had to decide on that, whether to prosecute, because already he had, when he was applying for bail, the facts of this case were not in dispute. In fact, the NPA did not even oppose bail, and so we'll hear today whether the NPA will decide to prosecute him or not.
Well, I suppose